Okay, let's talk now financial independence. Let me first give you my definition of financial independence. Number one, the ability to live from the income of your personal resources. This should be every person who lives in a free country, especially a capitalistic country. This should be everyone's goal, to someday be able to live from the income of your personal resources. Now, how many resources you need, right, depends on how you want to live. But if you wish to live modestly, it doesn't take all that many resources over a fairly brief period of time to have enough resources to live modestly. If you wish to live more lavishly, of course, you need to accumulate more resources. But that's my view of financial independence, so that you can live from the income of your resources. Now, here's what else that does. Now you can choose the work you do. Now you can choose to work or not work. Now you can work not because you have to, but because you want to. When we talk to kids about financial independence, we say, do what you have to as quick as you can so you can do what you want to as long as you can. Next key phrase. Economics is major. Everybody should major in economics because it's such a vital part of your life. A paycheck is so vital because, first of all, it provides for you and the family's survival. Second, it provides for the opportunity of success. Some people feel we shouldn't spend that much time talking about money, but we really should. Someone says, well, you know, money is the root of all evil. Not true. Here's what it really says. The love of money is the root of all evil. And I'm sure everyone here has dispensed with the idea of falling in love with money, because that serves no purpose. Here's what's noble, what money can do. The projects it can support. The relief from debt it can create. Building a financial wall around your family nothing can get through. So economics is major. The key, of course, is what you do with it. If you earn a lot, you should give a lot. Key phrase from antiquity, here's what it says. If you've been given much, now much is required. If you've been given great responsibility, much is required. If you've been given much wealth, now much is required. Everyone has to solve this about the money to go for. Should you go for the money? Should you go for success? You should earn as much as you possibly can in the reasonable time devoted to economics, job, business. Reasonable time devoted to economics, job, business, future, enterprise. With that enterprise and with that job, the key is to earn as much as you possibly can as you balance your life with everything else. Not at the sacrifice of your friendships, not at the sacrifice of values, not at the sacrifice of integrity, not at the sacrifice of wiping out other values in your life, but within balance of everything. Go as far as you can, earn as much as you can, share as much as you can. Jot this question down. Is it possible in America to multiply your income by 10? Kids would be fascinated with this question. Is it possible to multiply your income by 10? And the answer is, of course, yes. Could you repeat that after me? Yes, of course. That helps to emphasize it. That's called exclamation point. And kids with wide eyes will say, is that right? Can you start at the bottom and someday multiply your income by 10? The answer is, of course, of course, of course. Now, if you multiplied it by 10, can you think of anybody that makes $500 an hour? I'm telling you, the Beverly Hills lawyers where I live make at least $500 an hour. Now we've multiplied income by 10 again. Would it be possible to multiply your income by 10 and then multiply it by 10 again? Now, see, that's a little weak. I'm trying to make you believers. To those that believe, here's what Scripture says. All things are possible. There isn't anything that's impossible. The most incredible things are possible to believers. Not hopers. Not hopers. Believers. Wow. $500 an hour. Would it be possible to multiply your income by 10 again? Of course. $5,000 an hour? What do you suppose I get paid? I'm telling you, it's possible to multiply your income by 10, and then by 10, and then by 10. I lecture with Norman Schwarzkopf, the old general. Guess what he gets paid for his speech? $65,000 for 1 hour. 65,000, not 5,000, right? 65,000. I had lunch with Colin Powell, and I was on that speaking panel for one of those multi-speaker seminars. And I think he got paid like $70,000. It's a fun lunch with somebody that gets paid $75,000 for an hour. Unbelievable. Now, the person that's on up here, right, like Bill Gates and, who knows who else here, that makes $68 million in 1 year. We say, well, is that legitimate to pay someone $68 million in 1 year? And the answer is, of course. If they helped the company make $1 billion last year, would the company pay them $68 million? And the answer is yes, it's chicken feed. It ain't that much. Key phrase to jot down, everything is relative. Everything is relative. What might seem like a lot now, I'm telling you, some time from now for you won't seem that much. You say, wow, I was a small thinker back then, thinking, $4,000 a month was a lot of money. $8,000 a month was really something. I remember those days when $8,000 a month was unbelievable. And then $15,000 a month. Wow, I couldn't believe it. How about $20,000 a month? Incomprehensible. And I flew on by that. How about $30,000 a month? I flew on by that. Unbelievable. How about 50? How about 80,000 a month? I remember when I went right on by. It was incredible. Getting paid by the week. I remember when it was, right, 20,000 a week and then 30,000 a week. How about $40,000 a week? How much property will they let you own? As much as you want, all you want and all you wish. Here's the country you live in, all you want and all you wish. That's about as good as we can make it. Next, here's the philosophy of the rich and the philosophy of the poor. First, the philosophy of the poor. Poor people, now this is not demeaning now, this is simply people of modest means. People of modest means tend to spend their money and invest what's left. If they have anything left over, they might save it or invest it. That's the philosophy, the poor philosophy. To spend your money, save what's left. Here's the philosophy of the rich. To invest your money and spend what's left. It's the same money. It's just a different attitude and a different philosophy. Either spend your money, save what's left, or invest your money, spend what's left. Now, here certainly is the better philosophy, to invest your money and spend what's left. I started out, age 25, I'm working hard to make a living, and I found out how to start working on my fortune. That might not be for everyone, but you can turn part of your present income, if you think I've got to stick with a job for 30 years and retire, if that's your mindset and you want to do that, fine. But now you must wisely use the resources from that income to make a profit, even if you let other people use the money and pay you interest and dividends. If at least you do that, whether you buy and sell or not. But who couldn't? If you worked on a job for 40 years, why couldn't you buy a piece of property and sell it for more than you paid for it? Why couldn't you buy a home, sell it for more than you paid for it? Why couldn't you buy a piece of property that needs repair, find somebody to repair it and sell it for more than you paid for it? Why couldn't you do that over the next 40 years, as well as work on the job and punch the clock and do your duty and retire as a faithful employee? Why not work both on your fortune and your living? Why not? If the least you did was to take part of what you've earned as a living and let someone else use it and pay you for the use, if you did that over 40 years, you would easily be financially independent, not from your job, but from your investments. Then if you can find other ways, because it's stimulating. Who was it said? Was it Eisenhower? Someone said, find a piece of property and leave it better than you found it. Just something. Claude Olney, who put together a program called Where There's a Will, There's an A, became highly successful as an infomercial. He came to my seminars years and years ago before he put that program together, and he said, I've got an idea. What do you think? I said, it's a winner. Sure enough, made him millions. He made money on every car he bought because of the incredible way he took care of it and the way he made it shine and gleam, so that when he got ready to sell it, it was worth more than when he bought it. That was one of his projects. I'm going to make money on every car I buy. See, it just depends on your attitude and your philosophy. And the answer is, why not? Amazing. Two different people with two different attitudes. One lets it all go because it doesn't seem to make a difference. Another one says, I make money on whatever I touch. Whatever I touch gets better. It doesn't get dirty. It gets better. A guy who owned a bunch of apartments said to me, most everybody leaves the apartment that they rent worse than they found it. I said, you gotta be kidding. He said, no. Some leave it trashed. I said, impossible. He said, no. I said, what a reputation. What I touch turns to trash instead of gets better. Amazing. But what if you had the attitude or the mindset, I'm going to leave wherever I am, I'm going to leave it better than I found it. Not just what it did for the world, because it's a better place if you do that, but what it did for your psyche. Whatever I touch gets cleaner, and it gets better, and it gets painted, and it gets restored. Even if I walk away, you say, well, somebody else is going to enjoy it all. That's not the key. So be it. The key is, my philosophy is, I leave everything better than I found it.
If one of your goals is to become a millionaire, as it was my goal for many years before I achieved it, you have to learn how to think the way a millionaire thinks if you want to get the results, especially the financial results that a millionaire gets. Now, the most important attitude for financial success is called long-term thinking. Successful people think a long way into the future, and they adjust their daily behaviors to assure that they achieve their long-term goals. In a longitudinal study covering about 50 years done at Harvard universities in the 50s and 60s, they studied the reasons for upward socioeconomic mobility. They were looking for factors that would predict whether or not an individual or family was going to move upward and be wealthier in the future than in the present. They studied factors like education, intelligence, being born into the right family, or having the right connections. In every case, they found individuals who had been born with every blessing in life who did poorly. They also found individuals who had been born or come to this country with no advantages at all who had been extremely successful. What was the distinguishing factor? They finally determined that there was only one key attitude that mattered, and they called it time perspective. This, by the way, was one of the greatest breakthrough discoveries of my life, and I've never really quite recovered from it because it was so important. Time perspective refers to the amount of time that you take into consideration when planning your day-to-day activities and when making important decisions in your life. People with long time perspective invariably move up economically in the course of their lifetimes. When you spend weeks and months and years developing your skills and ability and expanding your experience in order to be successful, you have long time perspective. The average professional person has a time perspective of 10, 15, and 20 years. They're willing to invest years in university and and master's degrees and doctorate degrees, and then years of training as accountants or doctors or dentists in order to be able to make a wonderful living for the rest of their lives. They have long time perspective. This is a characteristic of people who move up rapidly socioeconomically and financially in life. So begin to see that everything that you're doing today is part of a long time continuum, at the end of which you're going to be financially independent or financially unfortunate. People with short time perspective think only about fun and pleasure in the short term. They have what economists call the inability to delay gratification. They have an irresistible tendency to spend every single penny they earn and everything that they can borrow, thinking that the money will always be there and that life will last forever. When you develop long-time perspective, you develop the discipline to delay gratification in the short term and to save your money rather than spending it. The combination of long-time perspective and delayed gratification puts you onto the high road to financial independence. Now, here are two things you can do to develop the attitudes of financially successful people. First, think long-term about your financial life. Decide exactly how much you want to be worth in 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years from today. Write it down. Make a plan. Take action on your plan every single day. And the second thing that you can do to assure your success in the long term is to develop the ability to delay gratification. Instead of buying something on impulse, put off buying decisions for a day, a week, or even a month. Decide in advance to think it over before you buy anything. This can change the way you spend money almost immediately. Your ability to think long-term about your life and to set 10 and 20-year goals for yourself, and then come back to the present and make sure that everything you do today is consistent with where you want to be in the future, is the hallmark of people who become millionaires in the course of their working lifetime.